The Harry Potter films are, for an entire generation, a masterpiece of cinema. They are comfort, they are magic, they are home. From the first glimpse of Hogwarts to the final shot of Platform 9 3/4, they crafted a world that defied childhood. But they are also a compromise. To adapt 7 dense, complex, and increasingly dark novels into family-friendly PG-13 blockbusters, choices had to be made. Difficult themes were softened, inconvenient truths were scrubbed, and the truly disturbing elements, the ones that make the books an adult story about war, trauma, and prejudice, were often left on the cutting room floor. The films are a magical adventure. The books are a story of survival. Today, we are not just looking at trivia. We are pulling back the curtain on the sanitized version and exploring 10 darkest, most adult secrets the Harry Potter movies were too afraid to show you. In the films, Tom Riddle is presented as a creepy, gifted, and malevolent orphan. We see him in the orphanage, already displaying a cold control over his powers. But the reason for his malevolence, the true, horrifying source of his inability to love, is a gothic horror story the movies completely ignored. The film hints at his mother, Meryl Gaunt, but it never dares to tell us the truth of the Gaunt family. This wasn't just a poor, sad family. The House of Gaunt, descended from Salazar Slytherin, was a case study in the horrors of blood purity. They were a family driven to madness, poverty, and violent instability by generations of inbreeding. Meryl's father, Marvolo, and brother, Morphin, were abusive, violent, and barely human. Meryl herself was a broken, abused woman, living in filth and terror. And then, she saw him, Tom Riddle Sr., a handsome, wealthy muggle from the nearby village. Meryl became obsessed. She was beaten, she was plain, and she knew he would never want her. So she did the unforgivable. The books make it clear. When her father and brother were dragged to Azkaban, Meryl Gaunt, a witch, used a love potion to bewitch Tom Riddle Sr. Let's be perfectly clear about what this means. This wasn't a cute, comical potion from Weasley's Wizard Wizards. This was a complete violation of will. She magically coerced him, forced him to marry her, and forced him to conceive a child with her. In Muggle terms, this is date rape, kidnapping, a complete and total violation of consent. Voldemort, the ultimate villain, was conceived from a non-consensual magical lie. Eventually, Meryl, perhaps deludedly believing he truly loved her now, stopped giving him the potion. The moment his mind was clear, Tom Riddle Sr. fled, abandoning his pregnant magical abuser, and never looked back. Meryl, heartbroken, gave birth at an orphanage and died. This is the secret. Voldemort is incapable of love, because he was literally born from a loveless, fraudulent union. His entire existence is the product of obsession and control. The movies were afraid to touch this, because it's not a story about a bad kid. It's a deeply adult story about abuse, mental illness, and sexual assault. Death in the Harry Potter movies is often clean. It's a flash of green light, a character falling gracefully, or a body lying peacefully. It's sad, but it's sanitized. Death in the books is not clean. It's brutal, it's visceral, and it's grotesque. Take the death of Peter Pettigrew. In the film, he's comically stunned by Dobby in Malfoy Manor. It's a non-event. In the book, his death is pure body horror. When Harry reminds Peter that he owes him a life debt, Pettigrew hesitates for a single, fatal second. The silver hand that Voldemort gifted him, a magical prosthetic, interprets this hesitation as betrayal. The hand turns on its master, wraps itself around Peter's own throat, and strangles him to death. Harry and Ron try to save him, but the magical hand is relentless. He is murdered by Voldemort's gift. Then there's Bellatrix Lestrange. The movie gives her a bombastic, CGI-heavy death where Molly Weasley shatters her into a million pieces. It's visually spectacular, but emotionally hollow. The book is far more grounded and terrifying. Molly, in a fit of pure maternal rage, duels Bellatrix, and her killing curse strikes Bellatrix directly over the heart. She is killed instantly, a single body dropping to the floor. It's not an explosion, it's an execution, a mother's justice. But the most heartbreaking omission is the death of Fred Weasley. The movie shows us the Weasleys grieving over his body, a tragic tableau. The book, however, makes you a witness. We are with Fred and his strange brother Percy, who has just returned to fate, joking in the midst of battle. Fred is mid-laugh when the wall of the castle explodes. The description is agonizing. The ghost of his last laugh still etched upon his face. Percy is described as walking his brother's body, and Harry has to physically drive him away from the corpse as the battle rages. The films shield you from the moment of impact. The books force you to watch, to feel the wall-setting trauma of war, where life is extinguished in the middle of a joke. In the films, Fenrir Greyback is portrayed as a feral, scruffy, and wild-looking Death Eater. He's animalistic, he's dangerous, but he's ultimately just one of Voldemort's henchmen. The movies were terrified to show you what Fenrir Greyback truly was. He wasn't just a werewolf, he was a cannibal, a sadist, and a monster with a very specific, chilling preference. Remus Lupin explains the truth in The Half-Blood Prince. Greyback isn't just a werewolf who attacks when the moon is full. He has developed a taste for human flesh, even in his human form. He is, in every sense, a cannibal. But it gets so much worse. Lupin reveals that Greyback's specialty is children. He positions himself close to his victims, biting and contaminating them when they are young. He does this, Lupin says, to raise them to hate normal wizards. Greyback is the one who attacked Remus Lupin as a small child, cursing him with lycanthropy as revenge against Lupin's father. Let's not mince words. Greyback is a predator who preys on children. He relishes in attacking them, maiming them, and destroying their lives. When he corners Harry in The Half-Blood Prince, he licks his lips, saying Harry is a bit younger than I'd have liked, and that he prefers them tender. This is the profile of a serial killer with strong pedophilic tendencies. He is the ultimate boogeyman, the monster in the closet made real. The films couldn't possibly explore this. It's an R-rated psychological horror. So they scrubbed away his defining monstrous traits and left us with a generic snarling bad guy, hiding the truly unspeakable evil of the original character. The elves in the films are primarily tragic or comic relief. Dobby is a beloved, heartbreaking hero. Kreacher is a grumpy, muttering servant. But the movies completely sidestep the real adult theme they represent: systemic, institutionalized slavery. In Goblet of Fire, Hermione is horrified to learn that the grand feasts at Hogwarts are prepared by a massive, unpaid, enslaved workforce in the kitchens. This discovery breaks her. She refuses to eat and she founds SPEW, the Society for the Promotion of Elvish Welfare. This is treated as a joke by everyone. Ron, our hero, mocks her. He argues that the elves like being enslaved. And this is the truly dark adult theme. The elves themselves are so deeply institutionalized, so psychologically broken by generations of servitude, that they are happy. They see freedom as a disgrace, payment as an insult. The films cut the most tragic example of this, Winky, Barty Crouch Sr.'s elf. After she is freed, against her will, she doesn't celebrate. She falls into a deep depression and becomes an alcoholic in the Hogwarts kitchens. She is a portrait of a being so defined by her enslavement that she cannot function without it. This is a deeply uncomfortable political allegory. It forces the reader to question the morality of the entire wizarding world. It shows that even good characters like Ron and Harry are complicit in a system of oppression. Hermione is the only one who sees the injustice, and she is ridiculed for it. The films didn't want to weigh down their adventure with complex socio-political commentary, nor did they want to make their heroes look morally complicit. In the movies, Kreacher's character arc is baffling. In Order of the Phoenix, he's a hateful, muttering elf who betrays Sirius, leading to his death. Then, in Deathly Hallows, he's suddenly a happy, loyal servant who cooks for the trio and leads the elves into battle. The movie never explains why he changed. The book, however, contains one of the most tragic and beautifully written redemption arcs in the entire series. Kreacher's evil wasn't random, it was the direct result of abuse. Sirius, trapped in the house he hated, treated Kreacher as a living embodiment of his family's pure blood bigotry. He screamed at him, threw things at him, and constantly wished him dead. But Kreacher had a secret. He was loyal, not to Sirius, but to his previous master, Regulus Arcturus Block, Sirius's younger brother. The movie omits this entirely. Regulus was a Death Eater who, upon learning of Voldemort's Horcrux, had a change of heart. He took Kreacher to the cave, drank the potion of despair himself, and ordered Kreacher to take the locket, escape, and destroy it. Regulus died, a willing sacrifice, and his final order was for his beloved elf to save himself. For decades, Kreacher lived alone in that house, driven half-mad by his failure to destroy the locket, and his grief for Master Regulus. His betrayal of Sirius was a cry for help. He reached out to the only people who had ever shown him kindness, Bellatrix and Narcissa. His redemption doesn't come from nowhere. It comes when Harry, finally understanding the story, treats Kreacher with kindness. He gives him the fake locket, Regulus's locket. This simple act of decency breaks the cycle of abuse. Kreacher is transformed. When he leads the house elves into battle, he isn't fighting for Harry. He is screaming, "Fight! Fight for my master, the defender of house elves! Fight in the name of Master Regulus!" It's a story of trauma, abuse, and the redemptive power of kindness. It was just too complex and time-consuming for the films to tell. The Ministry of Magic in the films is portrayed as bumbling and inefficient. Cornelius Fudge is a fool. Dolores Umbridge is a comically evil teacher in pink. The books paint a far more sinister and far more adult picture. The Ministry isn't just incompetent, it is corrupt, totalitarian, and a clear allegory for a fascist government. This isn't just about denying Voldemort's return. It's about a state-sponsored propaganda campaign to silence dissent. The Daily Prophet, the state newspaper, runs a year-long smear campaign against Harry and Dumbledore, painting them as unstable liars. But the most chilling, adult detail comes from Umbridge herself. In the books, we discover that Dolores Umbridge, a high-ranking ministry official, was the one who personally sent 2 Dementors to attack Harry in Little Whinging. Think about what that means. This was not a random act. This was a premeditated extrajudicial assassination attempt by a government employee on a 15-year-old boy. She tried to have Harry murdered by soulless monsters to silence him. It gets even darker in Deathly Hallows. When the Ministry falls, Umbridge doesn't just go along, she thrives. She heads the Muggle-Bone Registration Commission. The film shows a brief, sanitized glimpse of this. The book describes it as what it is, a kangaroo court, an ethnic registry. Umbridge sits, gleefully, passing judgment, confiscating wands, and sending innocent people to Azkaban based on their blood status. This is a direct parallel to the Nuremberg laws of 1930s Germany. Umbridge is not a mean teacher. She is a bureaucratic monster, an architect of ethnic cleansing. The films chose to keep the conflict simple. Harry versus Voldemort. The books warned that the evil within the government, the evil of prejudice, bureaucracy and propaganda, is as terrifying. The films paint a simple, heroic portrait of Harry's father. James Potter is a Quidditch hero, a loving husband, and a martyr. Severus Snape is the bitter, obsessed bully who never got over his schoolboy grudge. The books, in one of the series' most complex adult themes, shatters this myth. The truth is, James Potter was an arrogant, cruel, and relentless bully. And Snape was his victim. We see this in the chapter, Snape's Worst Memory. The film drastically tones this down. In the book, James and Sirius, bored after an exam, single out Snape for no reason. They hex him, and James hangs him upside down, exposing his graying underwear to the entire laughing school. When Lily Evans steps in to defend him, James says, "There's no need to take off his pants, Evans. We've seen them enough." But implication is clear. This isn't a rivalry. This is public humiliation, a form of sexual harassment and assault, perpetrated by the man who will become our hero's father. In his ultimate moment of pain and humiliation, Snape lashes out at the only person trying to help him, calling Lily the one word he knows will hurt her most: mudblood. This scene recontextualizes everything. It doesn't excuse Snape's later choices, but it explains them. His hatred isn't a simple grudge. It's the festering wound of profound, repeated trauma. The films were afraid to show this because it makes the good side look bad. It shatters the black and white morality of the story and forces us to accept a deeply adult truth. The good guys and the bad guys aren't always so easy to tell apart. The Dursleys. In films, they are one-dimensional, cartoonish villains. They are buffoons, defined by their absurd, irrational hatred of anything not normal. The books, however, hide a devastating and deeply human secret behind their cruelty. Their evil isn't just about a love for normalcy. It's rooted in a profound, bitter and tragic jealousy. This is Petunia Dursley's story. In Deathly Hallows, we learn through Snape's memories that Petunia, as a child, wasn't just afraid of Lily's magic, she was desperately envious of it. She saw her sister get her Hogwarts letter and was consumed by the feeling of being left out. The key adult detail is this: Petunia Dursley wrote a letter to Albus Dumbledore, begging him to make an exception, begging him to let her come to Hogwarts too. Dumbledore, of course, had to send a kind but firm rejection. That rejection cemented her fate. Her entire life, marrying the most normal man she could find, Vernon, obsessing over her normal house, and doting on her normal son, Dudley, was a bitter, lifelong reaction to the magical world that had rejected her. She doesn't just hate Harry because he's a wizard, she hates him because he is a living, breathing reminder of magical life she always wanted but was denied. Her abuse isn't just cruelty, it's the lashing out of a woman trapped in a life she built to spite a dream she could never have. This psychological depth was far too adult for the films, which settled for quick, comedic cruelty instead. The Dumbledore of films is the perfect mentor, wise, whimsical, kind, and a symbol of unambiguous good. His past with Dark Wizard Grindelwald is hinted at as vague, tragic friendship. The Dumbledore of the books is infinitely more complex and dangerous. He is a cold, calculating puppet master, haunted and shaped by his own youthful arrogance and a lust for power. The books reveal that his relationship with Gerard Grindelwald wasn't just friendship. It was passionate, obsessive, and, as Rowling later confirmed, romantic bond. But more importantly, it was an ideological one. Together, as teenagers, they became obsessed with Deathly Hallows and planned a global revolution. Their slogan, which Grindelwald would later adopt, was "For the greater good." This was their justification for overthrowing the Statute of Secrecy, ending wizarding concealment, and establishing a benevolent wizarding rule over muggles. Dumbledore wasn't just a troubled kid. He was a teenage fascist. And this ideology had a price. The most adult secret of his life, the death of his sister Ariana. She was an unstable, traumatized young woman with repressed magic. In the middle of a heated argument, a three-way duel broke out between Albus, his brother Aberforth, and Grindelwald. Ariana was caught in the crossfire and killed. To his dying day, Albus Dumbledore never knew if it was his curse that struck and killed his own sister. This trauma that defines him. His refusal to take power, his humility, isn't humility at all. It's fear. He knows what he is capable of. His manipulation of Harry, his willingness to raise him like a pig for slaughter, is the cold calculation of a man trying to atone for his past. A man willing to make any sacrifice for the greater good. The things needed a beacon of good. The books gave us a repentant, tragic, and terrifyingly pragmatic general. Magic in the movies is green. It's bright lights. Stupefy is a red beam. Avada Kedavra is a green one. People are stunned, and they get back up. The consequences are rarely seen. Magic in the books is brutal, messy, and often the consequences are permanent. First, let's look at George Weasley. In the Deathly Hallows film, he shows up with a bandaged ear, making a joke. In the book, during the Battle of the Seven Potters, he is hit by a Sectum Sempra curse, fired by Snape, though accidentally. It slices his ear clean off. It cannot be healed. It cannot be regrown. He is permanently maimed. It's a lasting scar of war. Second, the films give Cho Chang the role of the DA's betrayer, and her punishment is non-existent. This is a massive, character-assassinating change. In the book, the betrayer is Cho's friend, Marietta Edgecombe, and her punishment is pure, ruthless body horror, inflicted by our heroine, Hermione Granger. Hermione had jinxed the sign-up sheet. When Marietta betrayed them, the word sneak appeared on her face. The movie implies this was given to Cho, but it wasn't. The book describes it as a mass of angry purple pimples, and it's permanent. Despite Umbridge's best efforts, the scars never heal. Hermione, at 15, permanently disfigured another student for life. It's a ruthless, dark, and morally gray act the films would never let their heroine commit. Finally, the films never show us Neville's parents. We are only told they were tortured. In the Order of the Fifth, Harry, Ron, and Hermione visit them in the closed ward at St. Mungo's Hospital. They are not just ill. They are empty, childlike shells. They have been tortured into permanent, irreversible insanity by Bellatrix Lestrange. They don't recognize their own son. Neville's mother, in a moment of heartbreaking clarity, wordlessly shuffles over and hands him an empty gum wrapper. That is the true cost of dark magic. Not a clean death, but a living one. Permanent disfigurement, permanent maiming, and permanent insanity. The Harry Potter films will always be a magical escape, but by sanitizing these 10 dark secrets, they fundamentally changed the story. The books are not an escape. They are a mirror. They are a story about how a boy conceived from rape, how a predator who targets children, how a government that turns to fascism, how endemic systemic slavery, and how the arrogance of a good man all contribute to a world at war. The films are about the fate between good and evil. The books are an adult story about the horrifying, ambiguous, and traumatic cost of that fate. What other dark, adult details from the books do you think the movies were afraid to show? Let us know in the comments below.